Hello. I'm going to be narrating from chapter 16 of the Golden Compass. It's called The Silver Guillotine, and I'm going to sort of skip around the chapter um, just for the heck of it. I think a lot of people know this series, His Dark Materials. There's a show about it. Um, There was a movie made about the Golden Compass quite a while ago. So I'm just gonna read and kind of skip around. But luckily, there was such disorder inside, with the adults trying to hurry the children through so as to clear the way for the passengers from the Zeppelin, that no one was watching very carefully. She jumped down, pushed back the locker, and whispered to Pantaleon, "We must just pretend to be stupid till she sees us, and then say we were kidnapped. And nothing about the Egyptians or Lorik Bjornson especially. Ioric Bjornson especially, excuse me." Their eyes were gleaming with hope and excitement, and all through the canteen the message was being passed around. Lyra could tell that the atmosphere had changed. Outside, the children had been energetic and eager for play. Then, when they had seen Mrs. Coulter, they were bubbling with a suppressed hysterical fear. But now there was a control and purpose to their talkativeness. Lyra marveled at the effect hope could have. "If you hadn't done that, none of this would have happened," he whispered back. "Then it's up to me to undo it, isn't it?" But she knew roughly where she was, and she could see the dark bulk of her furs crammed in above the dormitory to guide her back. She could tell where a room was empty because the panels were dark, and from time to time she heard voices from below and stopped to listen. But it was only the cooks in the kitchen or the nurses in what Lyra had, in her Jordan way, thought of as the common room. They were saying nothing interesting, so she moved on. At last she came to the area where the conference room should be, according to her calculations, and sure enough, there was an area free of any pipework, where air conditioning and heating ducts were led down at one end, and where all the panels in a wide rectangular space were lit evenly. She placed her She placed her ear to the panel and heard a murmur of male adult voices, so she knew she had found the right place. "A child! Don't let her go." Lyra sank her teeth into his large freckled hand. He cried out, but didn't let go, even when she drew blood. Pantalaimon was snarling and spitting, but it was no good. The man was much stronger than she was, and he pulled and pulled until her other hand, desperately clinging to the stanchion, had to loosen, and she half fell through into the room. Was she on her own? The man was peering into the ceiling space. Seems to be on her own. Impossible. There's only one thing we can do, it seems to me. Now? Have to. Can't leave till the morning. She wants to watch. What's going on here? A light. Musical voice. Her voice. Everything stopped. What are you doing? And who is this child? She didn't complete the word child, because in that instant she recognized Lyra. Through tear-blurred eyes, Lyra saw her trotter and clutched at her bench. Her face, so beautiful and composed, grew in a moment haggard and horror-struck. They clung together like survivors of a shipwreck, shivering on a desolate coast. Dimly she heard Mrs. Coulter speaking to the men, but she couldn't even interpret her tone of voice. And then they were leaving that hateful room, and Mrs. Coulter was half carrying, half supporting her along a corridor. And then there was a door, a bedroom, scant in the air, soft light. Mrs. Coulter laid her gently on the bed. Lyra's arm was so tight around Pantalam, Pantalaimon that she was trembling with the force of it. Tender hands stroked her head. "My dear, dear child," said that sweet voice. "How ever did you come to be here?" Uh, so that was chapter 16, The Silver Guillotine of the Golden Compass, just part one of his Dark Materials. And of course, I skipped around um, just to create a different sort of story from another story. And, perhaps it's something that could spark the imagination.